Okay, we have our pages covered, and I'm going to have my album so it opens from the top and it'll go like this. But if you're doing it, you could also do it from the side. So however you want to do it, I'm doing it from the top because my pattern paper is going in that direction. So that's why I'm going to do it that way. So let's get started. I'm going to show you my first thing, which is the little frame I'm creating for the front of my album. And I designed that on my Gypsy. So let me zoom in here so you can see the screen a little bit better. There we go. And first what I did was I already created the file and cut everything out. I just wanted to show you how I put this together on my Gypsy. I have two pages here. One's my album page, which will be a square that is 4x6. So whenever I'm designing something to put on my page, I know this is kind of my template and that's how big of the object can be. So that's my album page. For my pages, which is going to be my first, this will be the cover, I'm using the Live Simply Cricut cartridge for these frames, as well as this little tag right here. So let me just head over to that cartridge, and I'll show you where it is on the cartridge. So it's Live Simply. And we're going to be using, when you hit the Shift key, we're going to use this frame right here. Okay, so what I did was I cut out 4 of them in a cardstock, and these frames measure 3.5 inches in height. And then I'm cutting out 1 in my pattern paper. And then I added this, when you hit the Shift key, this image right here. And it makes a perfect little pull-out tab, so you'll see what I mean in a minute. I cut that out at 3 inches because I wanted it to be, it's actually a shadow piece of this. Or it's a little larger. I guess it's a shadow piece. I'm not even sure what this object is, but it works great for what I wanted to do. So I cut it out at 3 inches, and it fits inside of the frame that I made, and I'll show you that in a second. And then remember in my supplies, I had this lollipop kind of flowers. Well, I created using the George cartridge circles, and I started with my smallest at 1 inch, and then I created 5 all together, so they go from 1 inch to 2 inches in 1/4 inch increments. So I have 5 of those cut out too. So let's go ahead and get started, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with the front cover of my mini album. And of course you can do whatever you want with yours. I always like to start off with my title page. Usually I don't add a frame for a picture right at the beginning, but this one I really wanted to because I want to get as many pictures in this as I can. So let me show you how I'm going to put this together. So let me just put my Gypsy to the side here. And what I did was I already set out all of my pages into this, into the actual order that I want them to be in. So we're going to be starting with this one. And the first thing I want to do is start with my images that I cut out on my Cricut. So I have my little tag here, my pattern paper, and then the 4 of the frames cut out in a red cardstock. I'm going to glue these together to make it kind of a thick chipboard kind of. So this is what I was talking about to do when you were doing your pages. If you didn't have a medium weight chipboard, you wanted to cut out a shaped image from your Cricut, that's what you do. You just take a couple pieces of your thick cardstock and glue them together, and that's what we're going to get ready to do. So I'm going to be using my quick dry adhesive for this. And I'm just going to go ahead and layer these together. So unfortunately my adhesive is clogged. So I'm going to have to get something to open that out. But for right now it works just to get our first piece on here. And this really does dry very, very quickly. So move quick when you're putting this down, otherwise it's going to be, not lined up right. So, all right, hold on one second. I'm going to go and get something to open up my top of my glue here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish layering these pieces. I got my glue all opened up here, so it's coming out much better. So I'm layering these as close to perfect as I can get. And I have my craft mat right underneath my thing here because I always make a mess with glue. I'm not a neat gluer. So this is our last piece. Make sure I have it going in the right direction. So there we go. We have a piece of a frame now with 4 layers of chipboard, or 4 layers of cardstock to make it pretty thick, almost like a chipboard. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is layer my pattern paper right on top of this. Okay, so that's that. Now, my favorite thing, I love the Distress ink, or Distress Crackle Paint. So I'm using the clear rock candy because I wanted to see how that would work on this pattern paper. So let me zoom in. And what you do with this is, the reason why I'm doing this first is because you have to let this sit for just a few minutes before you actually heat it with your heat gun so that the crackle will work. So let me put my glue on my, or the top of my glue. So it comes with a paintbrush inside, and I'm just going to go ahead and paint this on. And you want to put on a nice generous coat of it. And it really gives a really cool effect. I don't know how well you're going to see it on the camera. Hopefully you'll see it pretty well. So just put on a nice generous coat, and then we're going to set this aside to dry a bit. And then we're going to use our heat gun to get it to crackle. Okay, so I have my 5 little pieces. I'm going to use my little distressor and go right around the edges of this, and we're going to see how this turns out. We're making our own version of the lollipop flower that I had in a Prima, just using cardstock. And I think I'm going to wet this too. So I have my little water bottle here. And we're going to see if wetting it makes it even a little bit, you know, what kind of look we get to it when we wet it. Alright, so those are all distressed. And I just have some water. I have it actually in an old old Glimmer Mist bottle. So I'm just going to wet these up pretty good. You can flip them over and wet them on the other side too. And then I'm going to wrinkle them up. So I'm just going to get them nice and wrinkled. And I'm using Paper Tray ink cardstock, so this is pretty thick cardstock. Okay, so that's it. I'm going to let these dry for just a few minutes. I'll finish with those. I'm going to use my heat gun. I put my little frame inside of my little box here, and I'm going to use my heat gun. And we're going to get the crackle effect going here. So let me see. Hopefully if I zoom in some, you'll be able to see the crackle effect. Okay, so I went ahead and did my little frame, and it didn't really crackle as much as I wanted it to, but I like it the way it is. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use a piece of this really thick green satin ribbon, and I'm wrapping it right around the whole page, and I'm not worried about what it's going to be on the back because I'm going to cover this up with a matte area where I'm going to use to put a larger size photo. So I'm going to start off by just tying a simple knot, and I want to make sure my ribbon is as flat as it can be on all sides. So I'm going to put my ribbon right over to this side, almost right to the very edge of the book. And I'm going to tie this in a knot. Just like that. And I don't have my scissors right here, so hold on one second, guys. Gotta grab my scissors. And I'm just gonna go ahead and trim these. And later on, I actually might trim these to be a little different later. Alright, so that's that. I think I'm actually going to make these into like that. So I'm just folding my ribbon, and then going from the fold towards the top of the ribbon, I'm just creating a little V in the ribbon. Just like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is add my frame right to here, but I'm going to use pop dots to do that. So let me grab my pop dots. Okay, I just have these foam adhesive squares, and I'm going to be using these on the back of my frame. I don't want my whole frame adhered down because I'm going to take this little tag that we cut out and to make it so it can slide in and out, and that's where I'm going to put a picture. So, and I'm also going to leave it, there's a little tag top right here that sticks out, and I think I might put a little brad or something there. So what I'm going to do is just take my adhesive, and I'm just going to go along the top and bottom and sides of my frame, leaving one side completely open. So I'm going to add one more dot there. Peel these backings off. Okay, I have my pop dots added to the back, so I'm just going to go ahead and center this right on the front of my book, and see, it gives it some nice dimension and kind of sticks up here. So I'm a little bit crooked, so I just got to move this so it's straighter. And the pop dots actually help hold down that ribbon. Okay, so my frame's going to just stick right inside here. And I see that I've got a little bit of a problem there, so I'm just going to use my scissors. Okay, so I had to trim that down quite a bit to get it to fit. So, you know, you kind of go with it and see what happens. I'm just going to use my paper piercer because I want to stick one of these cute brads that came with the Blast Off collection right in here. So I think we're going to use, I like that star one. Maybe I'll use the star one. So I'm going to open this up. And I'm going to use this star brad right here. There we go. And that'll be like our little pull tag to get our frame in and out. Okay, so our first page is done. We're going to start working on this page. Now this is going to be the back side, so when you flip it over, I want it to be able to fit, so my image is going up and down. So let me show you as an example. So when you flip the book over, actually, ooh, I forgot to add one more thing to my page. I want to put these little, I have these simple sentiments for quite some time. They're by All My Memories, and I wanted to take this one that says Little Man and put it down here at the bottom of my frame. Okay, so anyway, like I was saying, this page right here is going to be, I wanted, so it's hard to explain, but I've seen it where some people do it upside down. So, but I want it to be when you're flipping through, you're going to see the image here. So for this page, we're going to do something really, really simple. And I'm just going to use or do a simple little layout here. Okay, so I cut down a piece of cardstock, and this is cut at, let me see, it is cut at 3.5 inches by 5.25 inches. So it's quite a bit smaller than my actual page. So I'm going to adhere that down, and I'm just going to use my ATG gun for this. I'm going to put a lot of adhesive on here because it's got to go over that piece of ribbon that I added for the front. So I'm going to make a nice, big, huge mess with adhesive there. I'm just going to center that right here. Okay, so that's going to be a mat, and I'm going to take a piece of some of my leftover pattern paper and make a frame for, or middle section here. And since this is measures, I'm going to make it 1/4 inch smaller. Okay, so we cut out a piece of my pattern paper. This is 1/4 inch smaller than my mat base there. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere that down, and then we're going to start playing with our lollipop flower. So I'm just going to center that right onto the mat that I created. Right there. Okay. And then I'm going to work with my lollipop flower. Now this is still a little wet, but I'm going to go ahead and dry that with my heat gun. So let me just get my stuff out of the way. So I dried it. I didn't completely dry it all the way, but I just did it most of the way. So I'm just going to take this and layer all of my pieces, and I don't know if I'm going to go all the way, all 5 pieces. Maybe I'll just go 4. I think I'm going to go 4. I'm going to skip the 1 1/4. So I'm just going to use my paper mat, or my mat stack here, and I'm going to punch a hole right in the middle. And this needs to be a pretty big hole, because I'm going to add that really cool brad there from this one. I think I'm going to add this one. Yeah, I'm going to add that. So I'm just trying to get through all 4 layers of my paper. I'm going to take this brad, put it right in the center. Just open up the prongs there. And then I'm just going to go ahead and kind of distress it some more with my fingers. Okay, so that's my version of a lollipop flower for my book. And I'm going to go ahead and adhere that, I think, right up here. The only thing is I was going to do it with my heat gun, and I don't have, or my glue gun, and I don't have that heated up. So maybe I'll just temporarily put it on with some ATG. There we go. Okay guys, there's our first section, or first page to our book. That's our front cover, and then our first inside page. And I'll see you next time when we'll start working on the next page to our mini album. Bye!